just like to say that we support the deferral of this application because it's obvious that the fundamental issues regarding the accreditation, preschool and kindergarten requirements set by the state have not been resolved yet. Until this has been achieved, it would not be in the best interests of the applicant or the city to move forward on this application. We do, however, appreciate the applicant trying to work with the city and the neighbourhoods on this. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Hello, Matt Eads, 5790 Riverside Drive, almost directly across the street, slightly catty-cornered. And I just want to stand up here as another neighbor and reiterate what Mr. Ungashik said. We agree with that. The majority of the neighbors in very close proximity to the property oppose this vehemently. It's a commercial enterprise in a residential neighborhood. The city is vowed to protect residential neighborhoods from commercial enterprises. And we believe that's the will of the neighborhood, and we hope you all will vote denial to support the will of the neighborhood. And hopefully this applicant will do very well in the future, but at a location more suitable to a commercial enterprise. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any further speakers?
I'm Helen Ungashik, and I'm at 5745 Riverside Drive. I would like to say that some of us have started some conversation about the fact that we're not really opposed to a daycare nursery school there at all. In fact, we've talked amongst ourselves of maybe trying to find a more adequate, a more professional organization that would help the school, the church, have a school there, and they could go forward that way if this opportunity doesn't work out. So I want you to be aware that having a school there is not the problem. It's this school and the type of organization they are. Thank you.
Thank you. Any more speakers in opposition? Ms. Smith, you want to use your time left for rebuttal?
I do appreciate the neighbors' concerns. I will tell you that as far as the email that was brought up, I don't think that has any bearing to a land use issue, nor do I think whether this operator or another is better or worse. The question before you and the mayor and city council is a land use matter. And also, just for you to know, I think it's for the state to enforce whether there is compliance or non-compliance with a licensing issue. We have a very good relationship with the State Department of Education right from the start, and they are very favorable about this school and its operations. It is an excellent service to the city of Sandy Springs and the greater metropolitan area. I stand happy to answer any other questions you may have, but I respectfully request your referral this matter.
Thank you. I have one question. What's the breakdown between and the enrollment between the students in Sandy Springs and outside of the city of Sandy Springs?
I don't know the answer to that.
Thank you.
Sure.
All right. With that, we're going to go ahead and close the public hearing. We'll go into executive session at this point. Any comments from members of the Planning Commission?
My question, I guess, is I don't think we got a recommendation from the staff as to what to do, did we?
Yes, staff's recommending referral.
Okay, then I would move we accept the staff's recommendation.
For deferral?
I second.
All right, got a motion and a second. Let's have some more comments if they're appropriate.
I'd like to have a question for staff. There were a number of comments about enforcement. And I think the neighborhood is concerned that the applicant has not been playing by the rules for some time now. So what would be different going forward if this application was approved with conditions as presented?
What the staff is trying to do with the re-advertising and with a much more detailed addressing of the various kinds of operations is to be able to tie down specific enrollments by each type each day and set an absolute maximum, and we would then be requiring that they provide both their either their state exemption or the state license each year along with their enrollment for each particular program under the state's licensing arrangements, so that we can control and we can manage these things both in terms of the time of day that students are there and also the total numbers.
And I have a second question. There was some concern about a school operating that wasn't in compliance with state requirements. And so the concern of the neighborhood is if we're not operating within compliance with the state requirements, that have a smaller student body, why would we want to approve an application for a larger number of students when they're still not in compliance? So let me maybe rephrase my question. Are they in compliance with the state, or do we know?
I do not know. The state has not advised us that they are not.
I would personally like to see that included in the information very clearly one way or the other going forward if this application is approved.
And I would go ahead.
My question is, does the state set standards or maximums?
The state sets standards for each of the various types of programs. It has both exemptions and a whole series of classifications of exemptions, and it also has certain licensed operations. They're going to define for us exactly what they are, and then they will be telling us what the hours of operation and the number of students are by each of these. The state doesn't set either the maximum. The state can set a maximum number on the facility, but if our number is lower in the use permit, that would be what would prevail.
Okay, but the state would put a maximum number in terms of each of these categories?
I believe they will, yes, because they examine the site, and on those that are licensed, yes. And the exemptions, I believe, is the same.
But then I go back to Mr. Pond's question about the enforcement issue. I mean, our building inspectors aren't going out and count heads, are they?
No, we're going to be, to the contrary, that is exactly what we're trying to avoid doing. What we want to do is know specifically by program the enrollment, and then that will be what we will be dealing with, will be the enrollment numbers.
But how will you monitor that?
They have to provide that to us in certified form each year.
But they do it in September, and by January they would be more. Or less.
Well, as I said, if there was a complaint, then we would go and we would have the authority to examine the records, because we do have a maximum number of enrolled students, and so we would have that information by classification, and we could get that.
I have one question. Is that something really the community development department ought to be doing, in monitoring enrollment?
If it relates to the operation of the school, and it is a land use issue, and the land use issue relates back to, just like density does, just like the total number of students does, it is a traffic and parking and related type issue, then yes, that is absolutely what we would, is appropriate.
Thank you.
David?
You know, to the extent, this story of this email that either is true or not true, you know, I kind of take issue with the applicant's representative that it's not relevant. I think it's very relevant, because the key issue that we're hearing from the community is that the applicant has not been straightforward with the community, and maybe not straightforward with the staff, and not straightforward with the planning commission. So I kind of feel like we need to, you know, in reality, we're not going to be able to go there and count heads. We're going to be looking at paperwork. And if the applicant has demonstrated a willingness to sign a document that says one thing but go do something else, or shuttle kids off the property when the state shows up, I think that's a very relevant and important issue. So if we do vote to defer, you know, we don't need to put you on the spot right now, but I would like to hear from the applicant something to give us comfort that this school will be following the rules. Whatever rules are determined, whatever compromise is reached between staff and the school, we need to be able to give the community confidence that that the applicant is going to abide by the rules. To date, and I'm sure it's a great school, and the people that run it are wonderful at what they do, but